This is a robot dog flamethrower machine. It's the first ever flamethrower wielding robot dog. Some people are saying this could be useful for like warfare, maybe even like crop management, like forest management. But others are saying this could be really dangerous in the wrong hands. Obviously, you can't be buying this from Walmart or Tesco, can you? And just letting a flamethrower robot dog walk around. Crazy that like even 3 years ago when we started this podcast, I didn't even think we'd be having that as a news story, but we do. I mean, I remember talking about the difference between React and Angular, and now we're on robot flamethrower dogs or something. So interesting development. But what are your chaps' take on this story? Yarrow, do you want to kick us off, mate? What's your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit crazy. To be honest, currently I'm thinking about some, 10-year-old kids who would probably be up for buying it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't really allow them to do that because they can cause a lot of harm and a lot of problems. So to be honest, I don't really see the market, the audience, who is going to be, who they are targeting. But again, I mean, talking about the current news in the world, I mean, in Greece, it would have been better if they developed a robot that can actually,
have a water gun on the back of it?
Do the firefighting at least,
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned you weren't sure of the use cases. I think, like, you could have it in warfare, I guess. You could have it for like crop and field management and stuff. I don't really know what else. Like the gimmick of like shooting the flamers for a YouTube video and like but then you've spent all that money on the robot just for that one purpose, which some people would do. I mean, I just feel like there's like an army of these one day just being controlled by some 15-year-old kid in Iowa, and he's just sent like a bunch of them just off into the streets.
Yeah, but to be honest, I would rather focus people's minds on something that is not creating a war or something, Oh,
of course. Yeah. I'm not saying the use cases are good use cases.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like it could be sold for those purposes, right? What's your take on this bizarre one?
Yeah, didn't Elon Musk give away a bunch of flamethrowers not so long ago?
The boring company flamethrower. There was no robot dog.
If you're wondering what the market is, maybe you should just get that email list. It's tough, isn't it? You think about history of armament and defense investment leading to various things. Sure. We have, the internet came out of DARPA. This is a DARPA project or whatever, Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
It's like it's all tangled up, and I think we're talking about the jet AI flown jet, and it made me think about this story that from World War II, and you guys might know if you've ever looked into it back in the day before sort of reliable wireless radio communication. People used to use pigeons, right? And they'd get pigeons to send messages.
The whole Twitter thing, right?
Send them off. Yeah. And they were like, these pigeons are really clever. I wonder what else they can do. So they did loads of tests, and they got pigeons pecking a button. Pigeon pecks the button, gets a bit of food. Let's start moving this button around. Button's moving around. Pigeons pecking it, following it really well because they're quite a nimble animal. Then it's like, let's take away the button. Let's just change it into like a light spot. Let's do that. I'll follow the light spot, pecking the light spot, give it some food. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to stick this pigeon inside a missile. We're going to link up the guidance system to some optics at the front, and it will be looking at a ship, and a ship on the sea looks like a dot. Pigeon pecks the dot. It guides this missile towards the ship. And that's not science fiction. That's real. They actually didn't try it. They did it, and it worked.
Okay.
It actually turned out that radio guidance systems sort of caught up and overtook it, so it didn't become But I think the idea of using some intelligence to guide some munition wherever that's sat is just kind of is already there. Cruise missiles doing automatic targeting and things like that. You don't necessarily need a robot that looks like an animal that we recognize to see that there are kind of robots doing this sort of work already. And when we think about what AI is being applied to, it's kind of making art, making music. Maybe I'd rather a human being doing that, and I'd rather robots doing some of the manual stuff that we don't want to do. And maybe getting good robots means you need the US Department of Defense to buy a bunch of robots with its defense budget to make robots good so they can work in hospitals. So the whole thing is wrapped up in this like humanity seems to be really good at spending its money on building weapons
Mm.
and that then generate loads. I'd really much rather it if we spent our money doing the thing directly. But it seems hard. People seem more interested in buying weapons. But
There is a
this stuff
theory,
comes
though.
out of it and it's like, oh, it's very hard, isn't it?
The Enigma code. I mean, like, war creates innovation in a horrible way. But I mean, I'm sure that they could just do innovation without the war. I'm sure that would work as well. But it does tend to have causation and correlation. The bird one, I've never heard that story, but that's fascinating. But I remember a similar story about a cat. I think it was a US FBI or like Secret Service or something. They spent like millions like injecting this cat with like microphones and like fake video eyes and stuff to like have it spy on. I think it was like the Russian embassy or something. They sent it and it got hit like instantly by a car. Yeah, project over. So real animals, you got to be a bit careful with those. But this is obviously a robot dog, so slightly different. Obviously, Boston Dynamics were like the big robot dog guys, but this, I believe it's not Boston. I think it is like a competitor who have copied it, because I believe Boston Dynamics don't allow their robots to be used for this sort of thing. They've got really, really strict T's and C's, and that they're more like focused on warehouses and like automating, like you said, the boring parts of work. I think this is another company, but similar to before with Twitter and Threads. So let's go like succeed or fail. Do you think the specific use case of having a flamethrower on a robot dog will be a thing? What would you say, Yara?
I mean, probably it will be, but again, I think it's just a robo dog and a flamethrower, and they are just
it's
married together. That's all. I mean, it's not a big deal.
It's a great cliff, but it's a pretty simple.
Yeah, exactly.
product,
So you can put whatever, I don't know, ice cream maker on that robot and just wander the streets and give children the ice cream.
That's a way better use of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I do see the future for it. I mean, especially with all the automation that's happening in the world, it definitely has its place to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, whether it's going to be with a flamethrower or something else, but yeah, I definitely see that robot dog wandering around the streets and, I don't know, doing something.
Hopefully with giving out ice cream, not fireballs. But yeah. What about you, Jason? Yes, no, succeed, fail? What would you say?
Yeah, definitely succeed. I think like that kind of robots and automation and robots that have recognizable modes. I think the biggest thing about that is, a lot of robotics previously is you sort of need to change the environment to allow the robot to exist in it, which is often an environment that humans have to live in. So anything that we can do to mean that actually the robots are adapting to the way that we want to exist in the world, I think is a really good thing. So yeah, I hope this succeeds, and I really hope it's giving out ice cream. That's a great.
The actual
outcome.
dog Spot by Dynamics can do just what you described. They've just figured out how to open doors without humans being involved. Before you'd have to like look at it was like a Nintendo Switch device. I've held it before, and you could like use it to press on the door handle and it would open it. Now you don't need that. A robot dog by Boston Dynamics can now walk around the entire factory, open doors, and do the tasks provided without the constant need for human supervision. So I mean, like that really echoes what you just said perfectly.